Well, once again, it's time, my friends, for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show. Yeehaw!
The Southern Fried Podcast wants you to know that Lane Funeral Home, Southcrest Chapel, here in Rossville, Georgia, is going to be having a holiday open house, and you're invited. This open house will be Thursday, December 12th at 9 a.m. Also, light breakfast and door prizes will be available. Remember, you are not alone when moments matter the most. Lane Funeral Home, Southcrest Chapel at 833 Chickamauga Avenue, Rossville, Georgia. The telephone is listed there on the screen. Please plan to attend. The Southern Fried Podcast now has its own store. Go to sfplive.com/store. These links are also found on Facebook and X and some of the other social streams. You will find shirts and hats and mugs and bags and all kinds of items with many different designs. These are just but a few of the more than 250 items that we have with different designs. We hope you'll come and shop, support the podcast. Every dollar that is paid will go towards keeping the podcast growing, and we thank you for your support. sfplive.com/store. Go shop today and get that favorite person in your life their Southern Fried Podcast item, and it'll help us advertise the podcast as you wear these things or take these things out into the public. We thank you for your support. If you have any questions, email us at southernfriedpodcast@yahoo.com. We'll be glad to answer. We're running some specials as well, 20, 25, and even 30% off in some cases. This will eliminate the mailing charges for sure. So go to sfplive.com/store for your Southern Fried Podcast items today. Remember, Christmas is just around the corner. Thank you. Southern Fried Podcast News Desk, conservative and Christian news brought to you each Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be covering news that affects America and you. From politics nationally and to the state level, we will discuss topics that are breaking each week and get your input as well. Join us each week for news from a conservative and Christian outlook. God bless America and God bless you. All right. Hello. Sorry for the delay. Had a little bit of a snafu there. I think I've plugged in my phone and it was causing some camera issues. I just got a new phone, had some problems with my other one over the weekend, and it's been a busy weekend, as I'm sure it has been for you. I was out and about today going to pick up the granddaughter, and traffic was horrible out on the interstates, and it's really pushed us today. We didn't get everything done we wanted to do, but we have gotten done a lot, and we're ready for after the holiday, a full week of recording. We got lots to catch up on. Holidays tend to do that. You take a little break, but we're right back in it. The news is hitting hard and heavy over the weekend, and I'm happy to be here. Sorry I missed last week. I think last week we were sick, and we intended to make that up, but the holiday pressing upon us just didn't happen. So we are excited to go tonight, and we're looking forward to a good time. Come into the chat. Let us know your thoughts and opinions, where you're coming in from, and we're glad to have you here. We got a lot of news to really catch up on, and the breaking news tonight, which is which is really incredible of some of the things that happened last night into today and then this afternoon, really all weekend long. And we kind of expected this. Some of it was a surprise, but we're going to get into all of that. So I'm Dave in the AM, your host for Southern Fried Podcast. If you're first time with us, we do a lot of live shows during the week. We do some pre-recorded. The weekends we don't do as much, but on Sunday we kick back into high gear like we do Friday night, and then Saturdays is kind of a light day. We do Veteran of the Week, and we'll do a Pet of the Week. Sometimes we'll drop something else, but on Sunday we start getting back in it, and Monday kicks off hard and heavy. Sunday night is the night that we've started doing our news desk, and excited about it. We got started weeks before the election, and just enjoy covering the news of what's going on and out there in the land. This weekend we had a great road trip for those that caught the videos of that. We still have much to release from that, but we went up to Spring City, Tennessee, talked to business owners, talked to people of faith, just had a good time in and around the city. We're going to talk about a historic event that happened up there, all things we wanted to put together and highlight for you tonight. But we do want to highlight a couple things before we get into the news, and one is, and I don't have the QR code. I have it, but I don't know if I can get it up. I may have to take a break and pull it down and see if I can get that on a card, a background that I can put up. Scott Kesterson with Bards FM, Bards FM, fellow ministry. He's from out in Oregon, but they're all across the country. They are really reporting some of the news from Western North Carolina and some of the things that are going on with that. And they're doing a special project. They've been helping out as well, which a lot of people have, but they're doing these Christmas boxes for Western North Carolina. They already took a trailer load of coats up there for the people, especially children, and we know how cold and snowy it is getting in Western North Carolina. We just, the seasons are changing, and there's a lot. Some of the people are not, are frustrated because some of the stuff's not been reported as it should be. I mean, how many people are without a home, and just what the need is, and they're a little frustrated at their governor and calling him out on it, and wanting accounting also of some of the money that's come in. So people are getting frustrated in Western North Carolina. But Scott Kesterson on Amazon, and you can probably do this through a search, but on his website they have a link. I downloaded the QR code, but I was running late for the show. But it's called the Western North Carolina or WNC Christmas Box Shopping List. What they're trying to do is they're put together, I think it's 204 or something like that boxes, and these are just a lot of things they thought would be interesting for children or anybody, just all kinds of different items. You can go in there and buy just one thing or more than one thing, but they're gonna pack out the boxes themselves, so you don't have to do anything. You can donate to it. There's also going to be the Jefferson Bible in there as well, but they've hit as many good deals as they could. I'm looking at the list right now. And, there's just things that times that you don't have anything to do and have games, and, they put some thought in this, and, it's just nice to get a care package and let them know they're not forgotten about as they go into the new year. And this will be ongoing. They've already, as I said, did some fundraisers. It was a great success. Now they're moving into this, and they'll have to get this done. Obviously, it's December 1st. Got to get this in and get it done. I'm going to make a donation as well. But if you can do that, we do want to get the news out there about it because I think it's important, and a fellow ministry and podcaster who very connected. I love he's ex-military and keeps me up to date on a lot of military goings on, especially with those that were forced out of the military. But Bards FM is his program, and we're gonna highlight what they're doing. Been listening to him for some time on and off. Sometimes I get busy and I miss his program. But I did listen today, and I'm glad I did. I was listening as I was actually headed to church. It was his Saturday program, and he was giving the update on this, and I'm so glad I caught that because I want to share the information about it. If I don't have it all tonight, be looking for tomorrow. There'll be a QR code will pop up for that. Help if you can. If you if you want another way to find it, we can send a link straight through email, and the email's flying across the bottom of the screen. Okay, so let's not forget about those folks and be praying for them. Over the weekend, a couple of news items really hit pretty hard, and I want to jump into the Syria situation and also touch base on Ukraine as well. We're going to look at some news headlines from a couple of the news sources too. Just tell you what they're kind of reporting on. But over the weekend, it was a surprise. It caught a lot of people by surprise. So this terror leaders that has made headway into Aleppo and basically has taken over the city of Aleppo, dozens of surrounding towns, the airport there, obviously. I read today that the last portion of Aleppo has fallen. There's been some prisoners taken. There's a number of dead. Many of those are civilian, and I think it's 20 children so far that have been killed in Aleppo. This is called the Syrian government, obviously Bashar al-Assad, and he's known as the Butcher of Syria. And he has, this country's been in turmoil for some time. It's had so many different entities that are fighting in there. And if you go back, I mean, remember when they went after ISIS and were neutralizing them? Well, there were still elements of all that stuff. But there's been, Israel's had to do military operations there. The United States has done some things there, outpost and some operations. I'm sure some of them we don't even hear about. The Russians are there propping up the Assad government. And, of course, the Iranians, the Iraqis, and all these terror groups, different terror organizations. Also the Turkish troops, I think, have been involved there. They're trying to come in behind. They have a great hatred for the Kurds, and there's fear about that. Remember, Syria has been broken up to many different strongholds for different people. The whole country's not been unified in some time. Damascus has come under attack, and the fear tonight is that Damascus is in trouble. That these troops were in trouble. The Russian military leader that was stationed there, he's been sacked, meaning he's been fired and taken from his job. This attack was basically years in the making, and it caught them by surprise. The Russians were not happy and pulled their military leader, advisor, whatever he's called there. He was removed. The Russians and Syrians have been doing bombing runs on Aleppo against some of these terror troops, and they think they've stabilized, but nobody knows if that's actually true. And through all of this, Assad, the Butcher of Syria there, is rumored that he's in Russia anyway with his family, supposedly on a vacation. Well, there's also the talk and the rumor that he was getting out of Dodge because he knew that he was in trouble. The Russians and Iranians and others have been backing him up. Venezuela for some time. Of course, you get into the tribal between the Sunni and Shia Kurds. There's different factions that are in these countries, especially Syria, and it has been a hotbed of terrorism for some time. But it would be a major, as bad as Assad is, and he's bad. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. To have that government fall could mean some bad things for Israel. I mean, what do these, at least you're dealing with some kind of a government. I've been told, or I've read that when the Russians or anybody's going to do anything, they sort of let the other side know it's, hey, we're going to bomb over here so that there's no incident between these, major nations. But it's obvious they're propping him up and have been for some time. Remember, he, like Russia, has brought in mercenaries, I'm sure prisoners, and put them on the lines. There's, there was parts of Damascus that were in bad shape, probably still in bad shape, bombed. Assad has gassed his own people at times. I mean, talk about a war criminal. This guy fits the bill. And remember, if you go all the way back, and some of you may remember, some of you maybe not, his father who died, and it was supposed to go to the oldest son, who died in a car crash, but there are some who say that he was going to be passed over for this son, who, by the way, was training to be some sort of a doctor abroad when all this went about. He was brought in and made the dictator of the nation. His father dying of cancer. He had vowed to retake the Golan Heights away from Israel to his dying breath, and made Bashar Assad swear that he would finish the job. I mean, they have websites set up that show the Golan Heights under Syrian, control and the Palestinian flag or whatever. So he has been a enemy, he had been an enemy and has been an enemy to Israel for a long time. Israel has had to do, the news is not reported much about it, but there's a lot of military action that has been taking place inside of Syria from from Israel, as there's any kind of threats that get close to their borders or is causing them some problems. They'll go take care of it. That's what they have to do. And so tonight, if he is in Russia, and I haven't got the late news, but this is everything I could read up until just a little while ago, is that he was there with his family. And then Damascus, if Aleppo's a major city, and that's a straight shot down to Damascus, and if that happens, and nobody knows, is this a coup that's going to be successful or not successful? Nobody knows. That's the nature of those things. It's not good for. The news tonight was, and there's no love lost between Biden and Assad, but again, and when you're dealing with these dictators in the Middle East, it's who do you deal with? Do you deal with the one who's horrible, or if he falls, what's filling that vacuum? And does this terror group? Can you even negotiate with them? Can you even talk with them? Do they just they just try to steamroll and attack outposts on Israel? Nobody knows what that might be. And would the Russians even negotiate with them because they're backing Assad? And again, we got to talk about there's naval installations that are down from Aleppo and Damascus over on the coast, and the oil. Of course, the oil is keeping the economy going for Syria in a major way. And certainly the Russians, who probably, I'm sure, making money off all this deal. There's naval outposts that there's Russian troops there, Russian naval ships, and what happens here. So it is something to be watched. It's something that was late last night and into today. This breakthrough that had happened, it was a surprise attack. It had caught them off guard, no doubt, and they were not happy what had happened with that. So there's like I said, as of between the Syrians and Russians, this is from the Washington Post, 56 people, including 20 children, and were killed, and there were hundreds more that were injured, according to White Helmets, a civil defense group in Syria. This is according to the Washington Post. So they report that the Syrian state news agency SANA is reporting that the joint Syrian-Russian air forces carried out airstrikes on the outskirts of Al-Safara, southwest of Aleppo city. So, they said that missile and bomb strikes were being carried out. So a country that was already in not good shape is in worse shape tonight. So this is a 13-year, basically, civil war that's been going on. So far, Assad has remained standing. He has been able to hold on to power largely through his friends and cohorts, being the Iranians and the Venezuelans and especially Russian help there. So we'll see. But the Allies, according to them, are showing support for the Syrian regime. U.S. conflicted by surge. Again, the Washington Post is trying to get a handle on it like any news agency, but this is really hard. This is really difficult. This could cause an upheaval in the Middle East, as if there wasn't already enough going on. So, so when you got all, and then when you go into Ukraine, it's being reported that they're in deep trouble. We've kind of known this for a while. The news has not been good from the front lines. It's a war of attrition right now. They're just slugfesting it out on the front lines, trench warfare, slinging artillery at each other and using whatever weapon they can. Of course, Biden administration gave the Ukrainians the approval to send weapons deeper into Russia. And not that they could even do extreme amounts of damage, but I'm sure they're trying to hit, energy installations or something like that, maybe even military. And, the Russians are not going to pull back. It would just make them angry. They'd probably go to a higher grade weapon. And the fear is that the Russians would go through the western Ukraine. Eastern Ukraine has been the main target through all of this, south and to the east, up the east of the Dnieper River. I can get it out. To the east of that, there has been some rockets that were fired to western Ukraine, but by and large, it's been unscathed, and that's where a lot of people fled. And you've had these lines that have been redrawn a lot. I mean, it'll take decades to get all the landmines and stuff that have been laid out, and it's treacherous moving for any group. Even if you take ground back, I mean, the defenses that have been put in place are pretty brutal. But what's been known for a long time is that the Ukrainians are running out of manpower and also weapons. Where did all the money go? Where did the money go? The $220 billion, and that's probably a conservative estimate, but $220 billion, not counting all the hardware and stuff, weapons and bullets or whatever we gave to them. Where's this at? Because now they're saying that they don't have enough of their brigades are outfitted with what they need to even fight. 2 out of 10 of the brigades is only outfitted enough, and he's kind of crying about that, this being Zelensky. And then coupled with that, we find out that since the war began, about 200,000 men have left the front lines, and 100,000 of that has been in the last few weeks. And some of these were soldiers that were going back. They were injured on medical leave, and they just never went back. Some have just fled the front lines, and so they're having trouble. They've had a manpower problem, and we know they've been grabbing old men and boys off the streets, anybody they can find, to force them into military service. I mean, that they drop the ages down, but these groups that go around, they're pretty brutal, and they'll just grab somebody up, and force them to go or die. And it's ugly in the front line. It's ugly for the Russians. I mean, the Russian people are not happy with all the damage, the loss of life that has happened on their side. And we've seen the Russian men leaving Russia before it ever got going. Remember, those that could get out were getting out. Their families were sending them out. I mean, it doesn't seem like they have much pride in this. Like, they don't see the war. What's the reasoning for it? They weren't really bothering us, and maybe they were happy in the beginning. They were retaking some land from Russia, but when the body bags started coming in, which is what happens in most wars, if not all, when the body bags start arriving by train and plane and every other way, and by the way, those on the Russian side are just as bad, if not worse. In some cases, have been worse than those on the Ukrainian side. And they just have more soldiers to put up for cannon fodder. Then the people where, they have all these sad stories, they go down and they just see hundreds and even thousands of body bags coming off the trains and planes from the front lines. And this is on a daily basis. This is a slugfest. So you have an attrition of troops on both sides. The Ukrainians can't keep up with that because they don't have the manpower. The North Koreans are sort of weighing in on this. They're saying they're always going to stand with the Russians on this. And of course, Belarus, Lukashenko, he's been itching for war. He likes to talk tough, and he's against Ukraine. And of course, the NATO nations that are worried on the border Ukraine, what's going to happen here. Now, word is that, and of course, we have a change in administration here, and we know that Trump is already reaching out and trying to, get a settlement here. Now we find out that Zelensky is saying he's ready to talk about some sort of a ceasefire, that he will make the concession that some land that he just won't have control of it. And I don't know any other way he can go. I mean, where are you going to go with this? Because one, I kind of think that the weaponry is going to dry up, at least from the American side, and as other NATO nations going to continue to pour weapons into there. I can't speak for President-elect Trump. I don't know exactly what he'll do, but I know he wants this war over, and come to some sort of an agreement and stop the bloodshed. So, where do they go? I mean, they're not going to make an offensive push. That's been evident for some time. In fact, they've been retreating as they've been flanked a little bit. And to me, honestly, I got to admit, I got to give the Ukrainians, for what they've had, have done a pretty good job. I mean, if you think about what was been thrown against them in the forces of Russia, they've done a pretty good job. And maybe that was inadequacies on the Russian military. Who knows? But because, there's a lot of talk about that. What kind of caliber troops do they really have? I mean, they've thrown the people out of the prisons and mercenaries at them. And some of the mercenaries were well seasoned in this. Remember the former friend of Vladimir Putin who turned on him and started driving toward Moscow. And he should have got out of Dodge when he could. So he bit the bullet in the plane going down in a takeout on him. But his men then, joined forces. I mean, I'm sure it was that or die. And so they've been doing flanking maneuvers on the Ukrainians. there was an incursion of Ukrainian troops into some Russian territory. And we've seen that a couple of times, but it's not going to be able to be sustained. They don't have the military hardware, and they don't have the manpower, and they're running short on artillery. So even if you're just going to sit and fire artillery at each other, Ukraine doesn't have an unlimited supply. Of course, when we look at the supply lines, I mean, Russia has suffered in this too. I've heard they had to take some tanks out of mothballs, get them in some sort of working manner because they have lost a high number of tanks. In fact, there was a video the other day. I don't know if you saw it. There was 5 tanks that were took out from the Russians coming up, a column that was coming up, and all 5 were taken out in succession. Pretty brutal looking video that come out. So I got to give the Ukrainians, of course, they're using some British and American technology in the tanks and some of the weaponry they have, the HIMARS and some of those things those are pretty amazing weapons. And the Russians are not happy about that. They've threatened, obviously, with this firing deeper into Russia, to detonate some low yield nuclear weapons, to even shoot rockets at some of the NATO members. So it's got everybody nervous, and they want to see something happen here, a resolution come to pass. And it looks like that's going to have to happen, or if they don't, Ukraine is going to lose it all. I mean, it's not pretty for them. So we see those fronts, and then Israel again did come to a ceasefire, somewhat of a ceasefire, with Hezbollah. They've been ongoing operations against Hamas, but there has been some firing back across from Hezbollah, and Israel has attacked back. So I wouldn't say it's a true ceasefire, although the hostilities have lessened some. Israel, for their part, told the civilians not to come south, and they didn't listen. I mean, that's all they got. So they started coming back as soon as it was announced, and some of those people have gotten caught up in the crossfire. And then we see, we've been wondering for some time, are and especially from the American side, are these with dual citizenship, American and Israeli citizens, are they alive or dead? Well, would you know it, over the weekend, a video was released of a young man, and one of his friends has already been released, and he was quite emotional. And I'm sure, obviously, it's a tactic to, elicit something out of their enemies, or they wouldn't release it. But he was quite emotional and calling on his government, because Netanyahu's been criticized for this ceasefire when they're still hostages. And he also appealed to President-elect Trump to do something to get him out. I mean, he's been in there so long, and you can tell it's just wearing on him what he's going through. I'm sure there's some torture, and they're not going to feed you very good, and the conditions would be very bad. This has been going on for a long time, and so we see that going on. And so President Trump has a lot on his plate as he will be swearing in, and we're still weeks away from that. I mean, several weeks away from that, and he's still trying to get his cabinet picks in. He's got them all in, I think, or at least most of them. And of course, he dropped one this weekend, which we'll talk about it in just a minute. And then the late breaking news about President Biden and Hunter, late breaking tonight. Let me talk about a little bit of our social affiliations we have real quick before we do that, and get those in as well. By the way, I do want to say, if our friends, and we're just trying to help a fellow podcaster friend that we're friends with, Three Ravens. They came out with I've been reading on this series. It came from the trailer park, and that, in fact, I'm reading that volume right there, and that's the latest one out, and I'm about 4 stories in. It's been a hoot. It really has, and I've enjoyed it. Well, and then Space Pew Pew has been leading in a category on the Amazon book list, one of the categories, and the author there is just tickled. And then another one of their new releases was the Monkey Bones. Well, there was another one released for Black Friday and this weekend, some specials, and you can't beat a good deal. And I wish I could remember the name of it, and if any of them was watching, feel free to drop that in a comment. But 99-cent sale, and so I saw that, and I thought, it's a new book. It just came out. I know the quality of the folks that are associated with Three Ravens Publishing, and I'll look that up on a break. And anyway, went ahead and purchased that. So the next book is in line. I've enjoyed reading them. They've got some comedy in them. There's some scary stuff. There's, but depending on which one. And he also have a military. They have different types of books and stuff you want to read. They can fit the bill. Local friends of ours from right here in North Georgia. And so give Three Ravens Publishing, give them a holler, because they would really, really appreciate that. And so we look forward to, I need to reach back out to him, a matter of fact, just check in with him. I know he's very, very busy. Also in the Chattanooga area, the Chattanooga Food Bank, their Christmas push for food donations and this, share-a-thon and things that they're doing locally here in the Chattanooga area. If they have boxes at the Walmarts and Food Cities for food, and it's their biggest fundraiser of the year to get food in, and so the need is great. So if you're in the area, give them a holler. Melissa Blevins was with us from the Chattanooga Food Bank. We're going to try to get her back here maybe this week or into next week as this really is getting in high gear, and kind of have a push for that. So we appreciate them, and please give them a holler. Our friend that comes in a lot of our streams, Steve with Half Pine Forage, I've ordered things from him. He has great videos. He has, I think, X account and Facebook, but his main account that I follow him on is Rumble. And please check him out. They also have a store, and so I like his work. I like what he's doing, and we're trying to help a fellow podcaster. And so a very different kind of show. That's his niche, and he's good at it. And so we like Steve. Don't forget Chick Bait over at YouTube. Chick Bait, talking about true crime, good friend of ours as well. I've got to get a new card up for her, and we appreciate her. Also for us, we have the W Energy drinks, and those are, this weekend, Black Friday sale, I think it's still going on 40%. I would obviously put that, BF 2024, I think that is Black Friday 2024. So they use the initials BF, 40%, but at any other time you get 10% off. If you use the promo code Southern Fried, and it helps you save money and helps them as well. But this weekend, use their code for Black Friday, and they're sold out of some things. We've got a shipment that we're waiting on right now, so they are really kicking it on the sales side, and we're so happy to hear it. Let me get one more. Mammoth Nation. We have an affiliation with them. When you use that QR code and you follow that and you become a member, it's for as little as $5 a month. You're going to get tons of savings back. You're going to make that money back easy in your savings. They are pro-America all the way, conservative and buy American, and they work with the best vendors for that. So we appreciate our affiliation with Mammoth Nation. I don't know if it runs through Monday. It most likely does, but they do have their lifetime membership was $250. They've slashed that in half, 50% off, $125. And I am actually a lifetime member now. I'm so excited. I love this group. I didn't want to have to worry with it every month, and I know that it goes to a good cause, and I'm supporting American business. And right now, I'm really fired up on that. I have been always, but we need to make a great push with the president coming in. The tariffs are being talked about, and a lot of people are crying about that. Let's bring as many of our goods and services home. Let's make them here. And I understand the global marketplace and all that, but the world is a very dangerous place, and you don't know when those things can be used to hurt you. So Mammoth Nation, a great friend of the podcast, and we are so excited to be a part of them. Also, our store, which I played the commercial for in the beginning, and we actually may be creating a second store. We've got I'm working with Rob right now, and we've liked some of the stuff that we've seen. We'll be exploring it, but there is a possibility. But we still have our first store it'll be different things than we have in this store. Somewhat there'll be some the same, some different, but through a different vendor. And we're looking at that right now. But we have a store, and we want you to definitely go to that. And we put the links up for that. It's on all of our social networks. You can find those links on Facebook and YouTube and Rumble and all those things. So X. And so instead of trying to follow it here, just go to where this show goes to, wherever you watch it from, and there's the link. And then we also have our couple of ways that you can give into to the podcast and just help us along the way, whether it's Venmo or then the PayPal QR code that you can help us with. Again, all this just goes back to help the podcast expand and grow and do more and more things. And we're excited about it, whether that's, going, having a new studio, which we're working on, and we're hoping to have that soon by the first of the year on our end. And Rob's going to be doing the same thing, and get just upgrade and have more opportunity, guests in house and stuff like that. We're probably Cowboy Cook. I'll probably have him in a little bit more at that point. He does a lot of roving reporter stuff for us. But we'll be expanding that and have some in-house. So anyway, just a lot that's going on, and we appreciate you for that. For your support. And thanks for being here. Thanks all of you from Instagram, and thanks for those of you that are coming in through X or wherever it is that you're coming in, whether that's Twitch or Facebook. And I don't see any YouTube tonight, but sometimes those don't show up. A lot from Rumble as well. We appreciate you very much. Let me run just a quick commercial. I'll be right back, and then we're going to talk about Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden. Yeah, you've probably already heard the news. That's okay, though. We're going to talk about it. Kind of saw it coming, didn't you? We'll be right back. Hey, here at the Southern Fried Podcast, we've got a new morning show. Well, it's actually the same show, but we added a day. We're now on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, starting at 6 a.m., and we go till about 7, maybe a little after if we're having a really good show, and we just want to keep it going for a few minutes, but it's usually about 6 to 7. We hope you join us. And as our tagline says, nobody really wants to get up, but since you're up, grab a cup of coffee and join us. Hopefully we can get you started on your day talking about a little bit of sports or news, have a little laughter. Everybody needs that in the morning, along with that caffeine. And hey, we're trying to get you awake. You might be trying to get us awake. So join in the chat. Let us know what's going on. Sometimes our best programs are from the chats that people tell us some things that are going on, or remind us of some things, or correct us on some things. Hey, all the above. We hope you join us on the Southern Fried Podcast morning show, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Have a great day in Dixie, and God bless. Absolutely, and that'll be out in the morning. Rob and Dave in the AM back with you. We'll be kicking off our first Monday after the holiday. Lots going on, and we're always excited to get together and kick the news around a little bit, talk about weather. Boy, it's getting cold where I'm at. But nothing like the snow they're getting up north right now, maybe where you're at as well. But the lows have been fairly low, and we definitely are in a change of season. But, yeah, we'll be back together Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And again, there'll be a lot of recording this week. You might even see a couple of more, at least one more morning show. Sometimes I do those. We'll be back this week again with some extra programming that we didn't get done last week due to the holiday, be that sports or Southern Talk. A couple of I remembers that. Probably have to do that. We got a new one I'm working on right now too, to honor our Cornbread Nation. Looking forward to that. And we still got a music platform we want to do to recognize young artists. And I've just got to get time to get together. I've got somebody already lined up for the first show. We've got to figure out how it's going to work best. If it's going to record that or do it live. And so we'll be talking about that soon. And look forward to getting back with Robert. We had a great Friday night. I really enjoyed, if you were there with us, our road trip to the Piggly Wiggly and talking about that. We're going to circle back to that too, and talk to some of those folks I think in South Georgia that are over some of the Piggly Wigglies. I've had some comments come in from some of the streams and people talking about the Piggly Wiggly and their that they had one near them when they were a kid, but then there's not one there now. They have to travel a ways. When they travel and go on vacation, they always go. And some that said they had been in that same store I was in and how great those people always are. Of course, I knew that was going to come in because you could tell the caliber of people. And then some that say they wish they had the Piggly Wiggly near them. And so I appreciate all those comments. We enjoy doing those outings like that, those road trips. We hit a couple other things along the way that we haven't really even fully shown yet. And we'll be doing much more of those. There's going to be some festivals that we're going to be part of. We're going in the new year. It won't be around Christmas time, although we do hope to film some Christmas parade. But we are going to be at some festivals, and we're going to talk to a lot of folks. So we're going to do some live streaming from some of the festivals. We'll give you a flavor of them. Talk to people. We've got 3, maybe 4 identified for sure that we're going to Three for sure. I'm pretty sure that two are definite, and third one is a very, very positive. And then we're looking at another one. Of course, something else could pop up along the way. I see us doing at least 6 of these next year, and kind of spread out every other month. And of course, there's in some months there's so many festivals. I mean, you can almost you throw a rock and you hit 10 of them. It's just a matter of having the time and which one do you go to, and all those things. How much does it cost to set up, and whether or not we sell anything. We're kind of working on that right now. In the new year, might I say this, then we're going to talk about Hunter. We hope to begin drop shipping some coffee to you, and it's going to have the Southern Fried Podcast name, logos, and our style of blend and everything we want to have. So we've already got names ready to go, slogans and things. And if you like coffee, a lot of people do, you can get your own Southern Fried versions of that. And we'll have some folks that'll be shipping that out. So we're looking forward to doing that. We got a lot of things to put in place legally before we do that. But I hope to have a lot of that in place here very, very soon. Just got to get together, Rob, make it happen. We've already worked on a lot of stuff. And I'll be looking for a website, so to speak. We're on the streams, but we're going to have another site we can kind of go to and put a little more messaging and stuff to kind of bring everything together. We've already really fairly close to having that ready to go up, at least in a skeleton form. It's not quite, it's not a finished product. So I was going to say it's really ready now, but I need to add a few more things before I do that. I hope to find time this week. Or I say hope to find, I'm going to make time. Time is what you make of it. So we'll make time for that and then record and do everything else as well. Thank you to all you patriots. This is great to be an American, and it's great. For me, I love being a Christian. I love the Lord. I love America. I love I'm proud of my country. I'm proud of the flag. I'm proud of the military. We have problems, sure, but I'll take America over any other nation on the face of the planet. And I like some of those nations, but they're nothing like the United States of America. It's great to be an American. That's why everybody wants to come here, because they see what we have and they don't have it. And we're fine with some legal immigration. We need folks to come in, bring their talents, and make us even better, make America even better and greater. But we can't have people coming here just taking. You gotta put some skin in the game. You gotta do something. You gotta pay in. You gotta, be legal. You got to do your part to be a good citizen. You can't just come here. And there's going to be a lot of crying after the first year, but these people start being removed from the jails and prisons first. I applaud it. Yes, let's get it done, because we need legal immigration. There are people that have tried to do it right and are doing it right, and they've suffered for doing it legal. We're all about law, and we're going to penalize the ones that do it right and let the ones who don't. We're just going to let them come in and do whatever they want. No, we can't have that. So I applaud the president on this. I hope it can go as far as we need it to. We'll just have to see how it is. Okay, well. First of all, Kash Patel was announced. There was a lot of talk. It was kind of storming into the weekend. A lot of talk on some of the social media streams. A lot of people were afraid the president was going to name someone else, the FBI director, and they were pushing for Kash. They didn't have to wait long. I don't know how long he knew he was going to do that, but I can tell you that must have, they read the tea leaves or something. They thought, well, he must be getting ready to announce it. We better have a strong pusher. They were hearing something they didn't want to hear. I don't know what started it, but everywhere I turned, they were afraid that it was going to go another way. Well, it didn't, and he announced Kash Patel. We'll come back to that in just a minute. But let's talk about the breaking news now. President Biden pardoned son Hunter, despite the pledge not to. This is on Newsmax, obviously released today, 7:44 p.m. So this was late breaking news. The president has pardoned Hunter Biden. I do want to reference a couple things in here that in one of the articles that he had to say, but he is trying to play the game that he had always said he was not, because he always said, I'm not going to pardon Hunter. He said he was not going to do that. Of course, we always know his nose gets longer all the time of things he said he wouldn't do or would do, and then does the opposite. But one of the things he said in the statement about this was the fact that it was obvious that the forces were after him, his opposition were after him, and it wasn't fair to Hunter. It was, he was willing to let everything play out the way it was supposed to, and they didn't get the satisfaction that they needed to have with the legal community, and everything was stacked against him. So basically, summation here. I'm not saying it. In no way am I saying it word for word. But the president said, he needed to step in and give him a pardon. Because he didn't think that was fair. So that happened late today. There'll be no more on that. He's pardoned. And, when every president goes out, there's always pardons that happen. They usually wait till the last days. I don't know why this one was done now. I'm sure there was some sort of a thinking about that, why that was done now. But he definitely... it was definitely odd timing. They like to release things on Fridays and Sundays anyway. All administrations do that. If it's bad news, it's usually late on a Friday after 5 o'clock. And of course things they really want to promote, early on Monday and Tuesday, get the press and get them all out but if it's bad, they don't like that. So this was released on a Sunday afternoon, and he is pardoned. And I don't know I think all of that was federal. So I don't think there was anything that was state level that wouldn't be covered under a pardon. So he was facing some possible jail time. I mean, he was. And also he attributed to the fact that when all this was going on, he was battling addictions and things, and that he had paid back all the money and stuff like that. Well, come on. There's a lot of issues there. It's not going to be a Hunter Biden discussion tonight, but it is for this purpose that he has been pardoned. And so, we'll just have to see where that goes as far as, why was it done now? Was it a screen to take some heat off of something else that they want to do? Because they knew this was going to be a big news item. And usually when they do stuff like that, you see that happen a lot. So we'll just have to see. I don't know. But I kind of expected it, to be honest, but I didn't think it would be now. I kind of thought this would be something that come up later, and that's just not the way that played out. So we will see. But Hunter gets the pass, and he's now off the hook, as they say, on that. And we can close the book on Team Biden here soon, for the most part. I don't think anything else will happen there. They're not going to rock the boat too much on anything. What can you do with a pardon anyway? So we'll just have to see, kind of where that goes. But it's pretty cut and dried. I expect there'll be a lot more pardons. Every president does, but it'll be a little closer. The last days of the administration, when they're getting ready to transfer that power over, it would seem that it would probably be something that were pardoned. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see a couple of other senators receive a pardon for, crimes on things. They'll say they'll make the excuse they don't want to leave them at the hands of the Republicans, and especially Donald J. Trump. So I almost expect that may happen, unless these people have burned all the friends they have. So he takes care of his boy on the way out, and he said today, this is from Fox News, and by Emma Colton, Andrea Margolis from Fox News. I wanted to read a quote out of the article here. He said, today I've signed a pardon for my son Hunter, end quote. Biden wrote in a statement, quote, from the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision-making, and I kept my word, even as I have watched my son being, and here's where he changes the terminology and phrasing, selectively and unfairly prosecuted. Really? End quote. So he went on to claim that his son was treated differently by prosecutors, quote, without aggravating factors like use in a crime, multiple purchases, or buying a weapon as a straw purchaser. People almost never brought to trial on felony charges solely for how they filled out a gun form, end quote. Biden added, quote, those who were late paying their taxes because of serious addictions but paid them back subsequently with interest and penalties are typically given non-criminal resolutions. It is clear that Hunter was treated differently end quote. He also referenced his son's battle with addiction and blamed raw politics for the unraveling of Hunter's plea deal. Quote, there has been an effort to break Hunter, who has been 5.5 years sober, even in the, oh, really? 5 years? Curious. I wonder where the baggie came from. They never found out, did they? Not saying it's his, but where'd it come from? Even has been 5.5 years sober, even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution, the 82-year-old father wrote, in trying to break Hunter, they've tried to break me. And come on, man, I could almost hear him say that. And there's no reason to believe it will stop here. Enough is enough. End quote. Remember, he always said the buck stops here. Well, yeah, I guess it stops with a pardon, because that's what he got. So, big weekend. Wow, we got Israel, a tenuous ceasefire. We've got Ukraine in trouble on the front lines and trying to figure out how they're going to, go forward, get out of this thing or whatever they're doing. We got Kash Patel being announced. We've got Aleppo falling to the terror groups and Bashar Assad on the run in Russia. And right in the middle of all that, Joe says on a Sunday night, by golly, I'm pardoning Hunter. Enough's enough. So that's going to be one of those things we're going to have to remember. Enough is enough. That's what I say about your whole administration, bud. Enough is enough. We've had enough. We've had a bellyful, as we like to say here in the South. We are sick and tired of you. We're sick and tired of your son. We're sick and tired of the crimes. We're sick and tired of all the lies. We're sick and tired of the grifting and all the backdoor deals and everything that you've had going on. You're absolutely right, Mr. President. Enough is enough, and we've had enough, and you're fired. Get out. I just wish it was tomorrow. I'm so sick of this family. I'm sick of their whole demeanor. I'm sick of the way that they have manipulated the Justice Department and every other federal arm and have came after conservatives and Christians and anybody else that they thought they could hurt and harm. You're right, Mr. President. Enough is enough. This just fires me up. We've had enough of you too, and we've had enough of you for some time. It's just I just wish we could remove you now, but that'd be a mistake because then we'd have Kamala coming on board for a few weeks, and we don't need that. She's a failure too, and we've had enough of her. And the border, people living on the border down on Arizona and Texas and California, they can tell you how much they've had enough of this administration. We've had enough of laptops. We've had enough of all these things where you've tried to destroy an American businessman because your drugged out kid takes the laptop in there and leaves all that incriminating and damaging and horrible evidence on these laptop. You tried to destroy anybody in the path that even tried to say that it was the real deal, and they wanted to make it out like it's Russians. Yeah, we're real sick and tired of you too, bud. Enough is enough. And so we knew it was going to happen. We knew it was coming. We knew he was going to get this done. I mean, there was no way to stop that. But okay, don't be getting up and talking about how they came after your boy and how they've treated. So it's all about Joe. It's all about Joe. Just it's because of me. And they went after Hunter because of me. Well, yeah, you're part of the problem, big guy, and you're 10%. You daggum Skippy, where you were. It was a part of you. You're right. You was we wasn't just creating false charges and stuff. And all of you, the whole criminal Biden family is going to skate free out of this. Every one of them, and they look at what they've done. It's a barren landscape that they've left behind. We've got. I mean, Americans are suffering on every level, and but yet he's sick and tired of how they're coming after his boy. Well, we're sick and tired of you, bud. And I try to be, I try not to be too hardcore about stuff, but you know what? These statements just make me mad. We didn't inflict ourselves upon you. You inflicted, you and your whole rotten family have been inflicted upon the American people. And I hope that anybody that voted for this guy, I hope they're ashamed of it. I mean, really. And I know he's got a lot of supporters, but seriously, that's ridiculous. That enough is enough. Really? Let's talk about enough's enough. Enough's enough of Americans being pulled out of their homes in the middle of the night, them in their underwear and their wives in their gowns, and with the newscast there in tow as they bust down the door like these people are some kind of, we've got some sort of Nazi infiltrators they're trying to take out, and they use all the lawfare and everything they can to come against them. Yeah, we're sick of that, bud. We've had enough of that. Enough's enough. We're sick of how you've brought up false charges and all your wicked, evil prosecutors that in tow with you have tried to destroy a president of the United States. Yeah, we're sick of you, bud. We're sick of all those people that come along with you like that. Enough is enough. You're right. Enough is enough, and we'll be so glad that the all the drugs and all the crack and all the naked pictures and everything else that goes on with this family. I hope enough is enough, and I hope we don't ever have to see you again. Go on away, go into your retirement, sit on the beach, eat ice cream, and your boy can sit there beside you, and y'all can laugh it up and yuck it up about how you fleeced people and how you took people and how you walked out scot free. Let's talk about that. Enough is enough. Man, that just fires me up. Good grief almighty. Aren't you just sick and tired of this crap? I mean, it's time to move on. And I hope and pray that there is a reckoning that's coming. I know there is eternally. There's a spiritual reckoning certainly for what these people have done. But they don't deserve the to be propped up and walk down the street like these people it's a crime family. And the news out there backs it up. Everything that they have done, all the stuff they have done, we wouldn't be. Why are we even messing with Ukraine? Why are we even in there? Well, it's because of what they did over there, and and Joe's here in the last days is trying to create chaos and trying to get Russia fired up against us, and we just hope there won't be no more of that. Good grief, yeah, you're right, bub. Enough is enough. Well, let's talk about. I'll get off my soapbox now. It's okay. I don't usually get that fired up. I wish Robert was here for that. I'm sure he'd be amening me along. We'll talk about it in the morning. But Mr. Patel, Kash Patel, I want to read. This is from defense.gov, U.S. Department of Defense.gov. Another reason I pulled that up, I just wanted to get a summation about Mr. Patel, and he is moving towards being the FBI director. And let's talk about, because some people may not realize all that he has been involved with. There's actually quite a bit when you look at the list. And so this is from their own, this is not something we're making up. This is their own write-up or bio, we might say, about Kash. Mr. Patel served as the former Chief of Staff acting to Secretary of Defense Christopher Miller and is responsible for leading the Secretary's mission at the department, including his executive staff, and providing counsel to the Secretary on all matters concerning the department's operations. Previously, Mr. Patel served as the Deputy Assistant to the President and Senior Director for Counterterrorism, or CT for short, at the National Security Council, NSC. In that capacity, Mr. Patel oversaw the execution of several of President Donald J. Trump's top priorities, including eliminating ISIS and al-Qaeda leadership such as al-Baghdadi and Qasem Arimi, and the safe reputation, I didn't say that right, repatriation of numerous American hostages. Mr. Patel also served as principal deputy to the acting director of national intelligence, where he oversaw the operations of all 17 intelligence community agencies and provided the president's daily briefing. Before joining the NSC, Mr. Patel served as the National Security Advisor and Senior Counsel for the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, HPSCI, where he spearheaded the investigation into the Russian active measures campaign to influence the 2016 presidential election. Concurrently, he oversaw sensitive programs for the intelligence community and U.S. Special Ops forces working to enact legislation to fully fund the multi-billion-dollar budget supporting intelligence and counterterrorism operations worldwide. Mr. Patel joined the HPSCI following his tenure as a terrorism prosecutor at the Department of Justice, DOJ, where he led investigations, spanning multiple theaters of conflict and oversaw the successful prosecution of criminals aligned with al-Qaeda, ISIS, and other terror groups. Mr. Patel also serves as the DOJ liaison officer to Joint Special Operations Command, JSOC, working with our nation's most prestigious counterterrorism units to conduct collaborative global targeting operations against high-volume terrorism targets. Mr. Patel began his career as a public defender, trying scores of complex cases ranging from murder to narco-trafficking to complex financial crimes and jury trials in state and federal courts. He is a native of New York. Mr. Patel completed his undergraduate studies at the University of Richmond, before returning to New York to earn his law degree, along with a certificate in international law from University of College London, Faculty of Laws in the United Kingdom. Cash is a lifelong ice hockey player, coach, and fan. I read all of that for this. I wasn't trying to bore you. It is a mouthful. You can go to their website and you can read that off for yourself. What you're going to hear is that Mr. Patel is not qualified for the job. That's what you're going to be hearing about. They don't like the fact that he's going to come in, he's going to clean house. I think that what I just read says he more than qualifies for what he's going to be asked to do. And he has successfully done that through his career, and now he gets a chance to continue his career. But they're going to come after him with both guns blazing, as they say, as one of those old sayings. And they're already beginning to tear him down in the press. As this was announced, what was this, Saturday night, one of those nights, it was announced that he was going to be the one nominated for that. So be a lot of news on the Monday shows about that. But Kash Patel, that's going to make a lot of MAGA folks, a lot of conservative folks, a lot of Republicans happy. It's going to make a lot of other people not happy. So we'll just have to see where that goes. But this is a big news weekend. I mean, it's also a holiday. It's another good time to, drop news. When you look at that, there's a couple other articles on Fox News. Shannon Bream has an article. I like her. She analyzes Biden's broad pardon for son Hunter. Judge Deneen, her story is Biden is lying again on his way out of office. Of course he is. And then the big weekend show co-host react to Biden pardoning his son Hunter. This will be all over the news. Jonathan Turley says Biden showing a degree of contempt for the American people. It's going to be a big news day tomorrow on this. Let me just mix in another news item from the sports world with this. What in the world is going on? From the college to the pro, all the fighting and stuff that's going on, pepper spray being used, flags being planted on opposing fields, and we've just got all kinds of stuff going on around the country. Good grief, mighty. And of course, John Bolton has come out and lashes out at the Kash Patel pick. There's also that. Bolton is still out there throwing daggers. He invokes the murderous dictator's right-hand man, as he calls him. That was his quote about Trump. There's going to be a lot of talk about this. And he was the former national security advisor, John Bolton. He calls for the Senate. This is again from Fox. Give credit here. Andrea Margolis. She does a lot of reporting for them. Appreciate the article, but it's a short article. But I just want to get this one. Well, that's actually fairly long. But this is what John Bolton has said about this. If you want to get the idea of how the daggers are coming out, he called the Senate to reject President-elect Trump's nomination of Kash Patel for FBI director, even comparing the move to, this is incredible, Joseph Stalin's reign of terror. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. Cut out with this explosive kind of talk. You're just throwing landmines. That's all you're doing, man. You're lighting a fire and you're putting gasoline on it. Bolton, who served as during the first Trump administration, provided a statement about the pick to NBC News. Meet the Press anchor Kristen Welker. She shared the comment in a post on X Sunday morning. Quote: This is from John Bolton, former National Security Advisor. Trump has nominated Kash Patel to be his Laventry Berea, the statement read. Fortunately, the FBI is not the NKVD, People's Commissariat for Internal Affairs. His statement referenced Laventry, my mouth is not working, Laventry Berea, who was the head of the Soviet secret police under Stalin. Berea is one of the most infamous figures in Russian history, having organized and implemented widespread surveillance, repression, ethnic purges, and terror during Stalin's rule. Joseph Stalin has nothing to do with this pick. Are you kidding me? We're going to go back and talk about the reign of terror that was Joseph Stalin. I mean, every time somebody gets put forth, they're constantly talking about Nazis, white nationalism. Now they're bringing in Joseph Stalin. Good grief, man. Are you kidding me? The prospect of an outsider being placed in charge of the FBI sent shockwaves across Washington over the weekend. The nomination was announced, it was Saturday night, by Trump, who called Patel a brilliant lawyer, investigator, and America First fighter. and we read his bio. I didn't see anywhere in the bio that he was anywhere compared to. And this is from their web. This is from the it's from the government's website now. Anywhere in there does it say anything about him being a Joseph Stalin wannabe? Come on, man. Are you kidding me? But they're mad because of things he has said he would do. Goes on to say, Patel said in a September interview with the Sean Ryan show that he would shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopen the next day as a museum of the deep state. He also penned a book called Government Gangsters, The Deep State, The Truth and the Battle for Our Democracy. Yeah, it's going to be a hot one. So we'll see. You feel free to go back and read it. There's not much more. There'll be a lot more about this, I'm sure, in the Monday and Tuesday news cycles. I do want to pop into the Jonathan Turley article about Biden, the Biden crime family. You know, the gloves are off, buddy. Enough is enough. We agree for once, but his enough is enough is different than my enough is enough. My enough is about him and his whole wretched family. Good grief. What was the other brother? James. You got James and Joe, Hunter. What a group. Three Musketeers, right? Come on. Man. So we'll see how that goes as we get in to the first of the week. Those hearings are not ready yet. They'll be coming up soon, but we'll just have to see where that goes. Let's look at, for sake of just seeing where they're at, let's look at CNN and look at their headlines on this as well. Sorry, things are moving slow. I've had to update some stuff this weekend. Some of my electronics and technology is not running at the speed of which I would be most happy, but that's okay. That's all right. We'll get it in there. It's just one of those things. You know, when your phone goes down and everything's connected and you have to get new stuff, then everything has to update and all that good stuff. So, you know how it is. Let's see here. CNN. What they have, that's not what I wanted. So we'll have to just hang on a second. Things are not running at the speed which we'd like, so we may not get that up at all, but that's okay. That's all right. Lots going on. President Trump on the move, not too worried about what's going on. They do have a story on Aleppo. Syrian and Russian jets step up strikes on rebels. There's some pictures of some burning and fires and cars all damaged and exploded. They step up the strikes on rebels after opposition seizes much of Aleppo. I've heard it, maybe all of it. They definitely had the majority of it. So we'll see where this goes. Israeli strikes kill at least 200 in Gaza. As UN halts aid deliveries after more trucks are stolen. How do you help these people, right? There's reports of civilians being beaten for trying to get food. Unbelievable. So yeah, the Middle East aflame. Middle East aflame. All we need now is for China to come in the mix, and we'll have just a good trifecta. Let's see. Yeah, this is a major part of ground. I was trying to see if it had any update on Bashar Assad and his getaway, his vacation to Russia. I wonder if he'll visit Crimea. It's under Russian control right now. That was the old garden, one of the garden spots. They like to go to Crimea and other places there on the coast and sunbathe. The Russians do, the rich Russians. They've got more ground to sunbathe on, I guess. So, if Damascus falls, it's over for the Assad regime, and there's no way he could stay in power at that point. But then what happens to those? What happens to the shipment of oil and everything? That's what they're really going to fight. Russians will fight to the tooth on that, because they're making money off all this. Again, another part of the story is, and I just sort of referenced it not very deeply, but the Turks who hate the Kurds. You remember when, some of the Kurds and some of those mountain Kurds, when they were pushing out of Iraq and trying to They were pinned in. I mean, they turned the guns on them on the Turkish side. They hate these people. They hate them. I mean, it's a deep hatred, and there's a fear that as they follow these terror groups inside the nation, that their troops will divert and go on their own mission of death against the Kurds. And so there's a lot of fronts here and a lot that's going on. On Sunday, Assad told Abbas Harachi, the visiting foreign minister of Iran, which has backed Assad in the civil war, that he intends to fight, quote, with all force and determination and throughout Syria's territory, end quote. This is a guy that released gas on his own people. I mean, he gassed. This has been many, many years ago. He did this, and there's been rumors that he's done that since. I don't know if it's been proven. But when Damascus was under attack at another time, there was talk about that he did that. So I don't know. This is major news. I don't think some Americans don't understand just how serious this could be. Another part of this article, this is on CNN, give them full credit. The Syrian Democratic Forces are largely made up of Kurdish fighters from a group known as the People's Protection Units, YPG, which is considered a terrorist organization by neighboring Turkey. Again, that's why they want it. Of course they consider it. They hate these people. The Syrian Democratic Forces have previously fought under Syrian opposition groups, or fought other Syrian opposition groups, but have in the past received backing from the U.S. for its fight against ISIS. They sure did. You know what we did? You know how we thanked the Kurds? You know what we did? We abandoned them. We left them high and dry. That's what we did. I'm most ashamed of that. Go all the way back to the first Gulf War. The Kurds were a great friend to us in the land, in those battles, in those wars. Intelligence, safe harbors, doing some of the dirty work so that we didn't have to do it. I mean, after all, it's to help them too. And what did we do? We hung them out to dry, and we left them alone for the mostly. There might have been some stuff behind the scenes we're not privy to, but the news was not good at how we treated the Kurds. I'm so sad by that. We should have done more to help the Kurds in Iraq and over in other areas. So it's just but again, tribal warfare, and this is gonna go very ugly. But he does have the Russians backing him up, and there's no way this terror group has the full abilities of the Russian military. I don't know what all the Russians have in the land. I mean, it's obvious. They control the skies. The Syrians, decent air force. The Russians definitely have a very good air force, and they are able to control the skies. So it's just really shocking when you think about it that the Russians were caught flat like this. Again, I would say this man that was sacked by Russia and ordered back to Russia, I'd say it did not end well for him. He got caught off guard in a big way in this attack. It should have never happened. And again, it's got lazy, I guess, and they didn't do all they could. But if they throw enough at it, they can slow them down and maybe even stop them. But again, nobody has stopped these people. Syria has not been a unified country in at least 13 years. In fact, it's really factioned off in at least three major factions, being these counter-terror groups, as well as the Assad government, but also some other groups as well. There's some smaller splinter factions. You can pull up a heat map, as they call it, of Syria that shows all the color for each entity, and it's amazing how much of it is not under the Assad control. But what he does control, he controlled some major cities, and he controlled, the naval and the air. And those, of course, he's got the Russians there backing him up. I was going to say earlier, the Iranians supply the Russians with, I think, most of their drones, if not all, sell them to them. And Iranians are major suppliers of weaponry to these terror groups. I don't, who knows? And it's kind of like, do you deal with the enemy of your enemy? I mean, there's nobody good to deal with. Assad is, but what I would say is he's probably the most solid of any of them, and at least you can have some discussion and have some influence. You'll have no influence with these terror groups, none whatsoever. they, remember way back when ISIS was controlling large swaths of Syria, and there was thoughts that Syria would fall in totally into ISIS hands. And you remember what ISIS was going to do? They were going to set up this caliphate there. I mean, that's what they were doing. And it was going to cause a lot of problems throughout all the Middle East. I mean, it was they were going to set up this caliphate that was supposedly that nothing else mattered, only them and their leader. And boy, that was going to get ugly. But that got squashed out, or should I say, bombed out, as we put them on the run, and destroyed a lot of them, took a lot of them prisoners, and just destroyed their infrastructure, any way of command and control or anything, not to be able to communicate with each other. And that's been effective. That's what Israel's done to Hamas, and has done in some degree to Hezbollah. But they're so entrenched into Lebanon. Another one. Isn't it amazing? Think about Lebanon, Syria, and in lesser degree Jordan. Jordan's relatively peaceful. Their leader has agreements, but think of Iraq and Iran, and Lebanon and Syria, and just think about if you didn't have all these various factions of death wanting to destroy and be dictators of each other. Think about what you could have as a beautiful place to visit. Places, all of those would be tourism spots. They're very beautiful. There's a lot of ancient history there. I mean, going back thousands of years, and to be able to go see some of these things before they destroy them all through their stupidity, and infighting and outfighting and every other kind of fighting. For all the Christians that want to go to biblical sites, I mean, you've got those in Syria, you've got those in Lebanon, you've got those in Jordan, you've got those in Iraq and the whole Persia area. All those places could reap the benefits of all of this if they would just stop, what they're doing, but they're not going to do it. And so biblical sites and other very historic sites have been destroyed by these wars. And it's just awful. I remember one time Baghdad was considered a very very wealthy city. It was very much a very visited city, kind of ahead of the others in the area. It was kind of the a pearl of the it's not the pearl of the Orient, but a pearl of the Middle East. And they were it was a very Western. I like to probably shouldn't say the word westernized, but that's what it reminds you of. Then people like to visit and buy and sell, and it was beautiful. And look what dictatorship and war and more war has caused, and terror groups, and even religious sites have been hit and destroyed in this this infighting that's going on. So, I don't think it's going to end well for Syria. I don't. My not having all the knowledge or all the facts, but I've looked at it long enough, and Syria's headed. It's been horrible for 13 years. It's headed for a really bad day. I think this is going to bog down into something very bloody, and I do think that this could possibly be the end of the Assad rule there. I just don't think they have enough manpower on the ground to stop it. They're controlling the size, and they can inflict some damage, but all of that, it ain't stopped them. I think it looks bad, and the fact that he's not, if that's true, that he's not even in the country, it goes even worse for him. And how do you rally from afar? Well, you can't. And he better get back real quick, or I'd say this thing's going to roll up, and Damascus is going to fall. I would look for that within days, if they don't stay them pretty hard. Now, that doesn't mean they get down there and get to the coast. That may be a different story. That may be carved out. Russia's not going to let that fall into their hands if they can all afford for that to happen. And who's to say would we even want to allow that to happen? The disruption of oil supplies and stuff. I don't know, but we'll see. I've often thought that Syria it's already kind of broken up into different sections anyway. I could kind of see Syria falling into this area where it splinters into almost like different countries. I don't know that Syria can be reunited together for maybe ever. I mean, it's bad. And I kind of think it's just going to be carved up. I think that's really what's kind of happened anyway, and it's going to get much worse. Again, no tears for Assad, none whatsoever. He's not someone to be appreciated for anything. He earned his title, the Butcher, and He's another one of those egomaniacs, and he's brutal. He's brutal in his administration of justice. So if he falls, nobody's going to weep over his condition. But the vacuum behind him might be bad. Then what happens? I mean, what happens to what gases do they have? He's obviously used it before. What do they have that could probably be used by some of these terror groups and unleashed on their opponents? I don't know. Don't know where those labs are at or where they store that at. I'm sorry, somebody's coming up on me. And okay, and but appreciate the news that always comes to us. Appreciate all the news sources, and we appreciate you tuning in tonight. And we look forward to being with you each Sunday night. There's a lot. We're going to have to follow up. We may have another show this week just to follow up on some of these activities because there's so much going on. It's really hard to keep up with what's going on in one show a week. And we may have to come back. We will reference it tomorrow on the morning show and tomorrow night. And Mama said we're going to have a section and talk about it. But I may do a show tomorrow night after because I really want to dive into some of these articles and try to get some more information about it. Definitely want to get in some of the quotes about the Hunter Biden story. And as more people weigh in on X and other social medias, I want to get a collection of those quotes from folks on both sides. And I would like to look for the news tomorrow about Kash Patel and what's going on with that story, because that's going to explode tomorrow as well. And Syria, what's going on with Syria. And then a fourth one would be what's happening in Ukraine, and get updates on that. And as a fifth, we might throw in, what is going on, obviously because of the hostage situation in Israel. So those are your Monday 5 at 5, we'll say. So we'll try to get in the 5 o'clock hour at some point, maybe do some updates, a little bit anyway, and cover those 5 things. So we're going to get off here tonight, and we appreciate you being in here. All of you that have followed Instagram and X and Rumble and YouTube and all the other places, thank you. God bless you. Pray for President Donald J. Trump as he assumes command very soon. Pray for the current administration. They need prayer. It's getting ugly. Let's pray for our military. Let's pray for all the appointees that the hearings will go smooth. I anticipate a lot of landmines in that, a lot of flame. But let's pray that they get approved and get the votes in very quickly. Let's pray for the hostages that are still missing, Americans being held. Why don't we hear more about that? It really makes me mad. And we're not going to forget Joe's quote, "Enough is enough." Yeah, I'm gonna have a comments about that, more about that. Enough is enough. We're ready for you to go, Joe. See ya. Goodbye. Hey, y'all have a great evening. God bless. We'll see you soon here on the Southern Fried Podcast, Christian and Conservative News. Take care. We'll see you next time.